Welcome to the Mystery Snapshots of History, where the past holds more secrets than you ever imagined. Japanese soldiers are shown punishing Chinese civilians during an incident in Nanjing in 1937. This event, known as the Nanjing Incident, occurred during the Second Sino-Japanese War, marked by intense military action and forced civilian relocations. Explosions and searchlights illuminate Moscow during an air raid in 1941. The city was under heavy assault as part of the broader conflict of World War II. In Shanghai around 1870, a person is seen wearing a kangui, a wooden punishment frame locked around the neck that restricted movement and subjected the individual to public humiliation. A V-1 flying bomb, also known as a doodlebug, is displayed in Piccadilly, London during the 1940s. On the 8th of October, 1950, in the Tu region of South Korea, North Korean girls are escorted to a train bound for a prisoner of war camp in Busan. This took place during the Korean War, which involved multiple nations. Linda Carter appears in her Wonder Woman costume during the filming of the television series in the 1970s. The show debuted in 1975 and quickly gained popularity, establishing Carter as a cultural icon in Humby, East Lothian, Scotland. Villagers gather to inspect the wreckage of a Heinkel 111 aircraft. The incident occurred during World War II as German planes carried out operations over the United Kingdom. A Beetle car sits among rubble in Berlin, Germany in 1945. Shortly after the end of a major global conflict, the image reflects the devastation and early stages of post-war reconstruction. A crowd forms following an elevated train accident in Brooklyn, New York City, in 1923. During that period, the elevated train system played a key role in the city's public transportation network. Crew members remain atop their tank after it becomes stuck in a riverbed while trying to find a shallow crossing at the Pukon River in Korea. On June 19, 1950, South Vietnamese parents and their 5 children are seen making their way toward Saigon in search of safety during intense regional conflict. In 1969, the draft lottery for the Vietnam War takes place in Washington, D.C., United States. It was held to randomly determine the order in which men would be called for compulsory military service. A 3rd-century Roman mosaic discovered in Tunisia depicts a scene of damnatio ad bestias, condemnation to the beasts. In this example, a leopard is shown confronting the condemned, reflecting a common practice in Roman arenas. A baby's cradle is seen inside Wormwood Scrubs prison in London, England in 1901. At that time, young children sometimes stayed with their incarcerated mothers in cells or designated areas. A well-known man stands in the midst of a crowd after the announcement of World War I's outbreak in 1914 in Munich, Germany. The moment signaled the beginning of one of the 20th century's most significant global conflicts. The Kimberley diamond mine in South Africa rose to fame in 1872 after the discovery of an 83 lima karat diamond. The event attracted thousands of prospectors and launched one of the region's largest mining booms. In September 1938, a coal miner's wife poses with 3 of her children in front of their company house in Purslow, Scotts Run, West Virginia, United States. The visit occurred after one of the most pivotal battles of the American Civil War, remembered for its scale and historical significance. In the 1940s, a farmer paints white stripes on her cow to increase visibility during blackout conditions in case it wandered onto the road. Such precautions were common during World War II as light restrictions were enforced across both cities and rural areas. A miner's cable car descends into the Kimberley diamond mine in South Africa in the late 19th century. This system helped transport workers and materials between the surface and the mine depths. Women of the South Korean Women's Auxiliary Corps march in formation through the streets of Busan on the 12th of September. 1950, they were trained to support essential operations throughout the Korean War. In 1952, soldiers stand guard at fortified shelters in Korea amid intense battles. These bunkers served as protection and observation posts in active combat zones. The windows on the World Restaurant operated atop the original World Trade Center in New York City during the 1980s. Opened in 1976. It offered panoramic city views and drew visitors from around the world. In 1922, women and girls apply radium paint, unaware of the health hazards it posed. The luminous substance was used to make glowing dials, especially for watches and military instruments. Boys pose in front of a car in the Bronx, New York City, United States, in 1977. During that period, the borough faced economic and social difficulties, but also became the birthplace of hip-hop and key cultural shifts. A packed double-decker bus moves along a London street in 1928. In the 1920s, these buses were a common part of the city's public transport system, carrying thousands of daily passengers. Assyrian soldiers are depicted punishing captives in reliefs from Nineveh, dated to 701 BC. These scenes, from the Siege of Lachish, were part of King Sennacherib's famed stone carvings displayed at his palace in present-day Iraq. In India during the 1940s, British military equipment is disguised as elephants. This creative form of camouflage was used to deceive observers and protect machinery during military operations. A sunbath machine is demonstrated in 1949 at the annual Automatic Machines Convention in Chicago, Illinois, United States. The device was marketed as a technological solution for providing artificial tanning light. The ships Titanic and Olympic are seen under construction at the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast, Northern Ireland. Construction began in 1909, and this photo was taken in 1910. The Olympic was launched on the 20th of October, 1910, while the Titanic followed on May 31st, 1911. A peanut vendor works in Lower Manhattan, New York City, United States in 1945. Street vendors were common at the time, offering food and goods to both locals and visitors. A woman cuts her birthday cake in Iran in 1973, 5 years before the Islamic Revolution. That decade, the country experienced major cultural and social shifts driven by modernization. In August 1939, an unemployed worker from the logging industry travels with his wife to pick beans in Oregon, United States. During the Great Depression, many families moved frequently in search of seasonal agricultural work. A Coca-Cola delivery truck crossed the Pont de l'Archevêché near Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, France. The bridge is notable for its close proximity to the medieval landmark. During the 1940s, Howard Hughes pilots the Spruce Goose, a massive aircraft weighing around 200 tons, officially called the Hughes H-4 Hercules. The plane was built primarily of wood due to wartime shortages of metal. War photographer and correspondent Lee Miller is seen on the 30th of April, 1945. Shortly after Allied forces entered Munich, Germany. She became known for her impactful images documenting key events during the conflict. In Palermo, Italy, in 1865, pasta dries on wooden racks outside a noodle shop. The method relied on the region's favorable climate to harden the dough naturally. A woman has her swimsuit length measured in 1925 as part of the era's regulations on public swimwear. The Porsche 911 assembly line operates at the Stuttgart factory in Germany during the 1970s. Introduced in 1964, the Porsche 911 soon became a global icon among sports cars. Jimi Hendrix is pictured at TTG Studios in North Hollywood, California, United States in 1968. It was here that Hendrix recorded key tracks while experimenting with new techniques and sound effects. These vintage photographs document one of the world's largest engineering efforts carried out between 1906 and 1915 to bring water to New York City, United States. Neil Armstrong's wife and children are seen watching the Apollo 11 launch on the 16th of July, 1969 at Kennedy Space Center in Florida, United States. An engineer wires one of the earliest IBM computers, the Model 13M, in the United States in 1958. At that time, computers occupied entire rooms and required intricate manual setup, Bruce Lee teaches martial arts to his son Brandon Lee during the 1960s in the United States. Lee became a global icon for his influence in martial arts and cinema. The Council of Ministers and Supreme Soviet building of the Uzbek Soviet Socialist Republic is photographed in 1971 by Isef Budovich in Tashkent. The first known photograph of a recording studio was taken in 1898. It captures early audio equipment, such as phonographs and mechanical recording devices. A 3,200-year-old absenteeism record discovered in ancient Egypt lists reasons such as embalming a brother, making beer, and being stung by a scorpion. Boy Scouts in England raised funds in 1912 to support survivors of the Titanic. Following the ship's sinking on the 15th of April, multiple relief efforts were organized. Winston Churchill waves to the crowd on May 8, 1945 in Whitehall, London during Victory in Europe Day celebrations. The day marked the formal end of the war in Europe, drawing thousands into the streets. Astronaut Dale Gardner holds up a for sale sign after retrieving 2 damaged satellites, Palapa B2 and Westar 6. The mission was conducted by the Space Shuttle Discovery on STS-51A. Launched on the 14th of November, John F. Kennedy is served fettuccine Alfredo by its creator, Alfredo Di Lelio, at the Alfredo restaurant in Rome, Italy in 1963. The dish, developed by Di Lelio in the early 20th century, gained international recognition for its simplicity and flavor. A captured tube monoplane is displayed in the courtyard of Les Invalides in Paris, France. In 1915, the aircraft was among the first used for reconnaissance in the early 1900s. The pet cat of the 44th Finnish Air Squadron rests inside a pilot's boot during the Continuation War in Joensuu, Finland on the 16th of August. Dorothy Smith, a well-known stunt motorcyclist of the 1930s and 1940s, is seen here. She rode with the San Francisco Motorcycle Club and co-founded the Motors Group. Burt Reynolds appears between scenes on the set of Deliverance in 1971. The film was released in 1972 and became one of Reynolds' most iconic roles. Winston Churchill, known also for his masonry skills, builds a cottage for his daughters at his Chartwell estate in Kent, England in 1928. Marina Towers, high-rise residential buildings in Chicago, Illinois, United States, are photographed in 1963. The complex includes twin towers with spiral parking at the base, seen as a groundbreaking design of its time. Miss Idaho, potato poses surrounded by potatoes in 1935 in Idaho, United States. The title was part of a local celebration highlighting the region's vital potato industry. President Ronald Reagan meets Mike Pence, future Vice President of the United States, in 1988. At the time, Reagan was concluding his presidency, while Pence was beginning his career in public service. Young Iranian girls line up to welcome U.S. President Richard Nixon during his 1972 visit to Iran. The trip was part of efforts to strengthen diplomatic relations between the two nations. The Sydney Opera House is seen under construction in Sydney, Australia, during the 1970s. Work began in 1959, and the building officially opened with a ceremony on the 20th of October. Lana Turner poses elegantly in 1955 at the height of her film career in the United States. She gained fame in the 1940s and 1950s for her roles in popular Hollywood productions. A tree approximately 130 years old was felled in 1891, revealing growth rings linked to major historical events. Each ring corresponds to a year, helping researchers align timelines with the tree's lifespan. A 103-year-old comic strip envisions the idea of pocket telephones, titled The Pocket Telephone. When Will It Ring? It was created by W.K. Haselden and first published in the Mirror newspaper in March 1919. Howard G. Rogers, Polaroid's chief chemist, poses with colleagues in 1963 beside 5,000 bottles of compounds used to develop the company's color film. Arnold Schwarzenegger celebrates the day he received U.S. citizenship. Originally from Austria, he moved to the United States in 1968 and went on to become a bodybuilder, actor, and politician. Winston Churchill is seen enjoying a swim during a moment of rest. Beyond politics, Churchill appreciated painting and swimming as forms of personal relaxation. 67 Robin Williams appears in character as Mork alongside the Denver Broncos cheerleaders in 1979 during an episode of Mork and Mindy. At age 17, Shaquille O'Neal poses with his high school basketball team in San Antonio, Texas in 1989. His height and talent already drew attention from scouts and colleges, and workers restore stones at Stonehenge on the Salisbury Plain in Wiltshire, England in 1958. The project aimed to stabilize and reposition elements at risk of collapse. Harry Houdini poses in 1899 wearing chains and padlocks. Hallmarks of his escape acts, he rose to fame as an illusionist and performer, captivating audiences with feats that challenged belief. A soldier gently feeds a kitten in 1917 during a pause in military operations. Such moments reflect tenderness and humanity. Even amid the strains of a major conflict, people spend time outdoors in Cusco Park, Moscow, Russia, while a group plays cards near the lake. In the background stands Cusco Palace, the 18th century summer residence of the Sheremetev family. Grigory Rasputin is surrounded by admirers in 1914 in Imperial Russia. He was a mystic known for his close relationship with Tsar Nicholas II's family, especially Empress Alexandra. Donald Sutherland and Clint Eastwood appear together on the set of Kelly's Heroes. Released in 1970, the film is a wartime adventure comedy blending action with humor. A family prepares for a ride in their 1903 Cadillac Model A somewhere in the United States. This model was one of Cadillac's earliest cars, marking the beginning of the modern automotive era. Sissy Spacek poses for a photograph during the 1970s, a decade when she established herself in the American film industry. Orson Welles performs The War of the Worlds during a radio broadcast in the United States in 1938. Paris in the 19th century is captured through scenes that reflect the city's distinct beauty. During this period, Baron Haussmann led major urban renovations, transforming its streets and architecture. The first mobile phone is introduced in 1973. It measured around 10 inches tall, offered roughly 35 minutes of talk time, and took about 10 hours to fully charge. 3 children react with surprise and fear while riding the Ghost train in 1953. Known for its sound effects and sudden scares, the attraction was a classic feature of amusement parks. In 1934, a woman pushes a stroller carrying a baby and a dog. Using a specially designed top-mounted pet carrier, the dog section is attached above the baby's seat, illustrating creative solutions for urban mobility. 2 men pose beside an experimental aircraft at the Zhukovsky Aviation School in Soviet Russia in 1922. The era marked renewed efforts in both civil and military aviation after World War I. A vehicle equipped with detection devices patrols streets in the United Kingdom to locate unlicensed television sets. During a time when viewing required government authorization, the Oseberg Viking ship is excavated near Tensberg, Norway between 1904 and 1905. It is considered one of the most well-preserved archaeological discoveries from the Viking era. A person observes the Tower of London and Tower Bridge through an interior window in the year 1900. A double-decker bus travels down Victoria Street in London, England in 1935. Nearby, a child in a small stroller draws attention, creating a typical urban moment of the time. A sign in Greenville, Connecticut reads, "Choose the speed you can afford." It warns drivers that fines increase with each mile per hour over the limit. A group of soldiers poses for a selfie using a mirror in Germany in 1912. Police patrol cars are in service in the United States in 1916. These vehicles improved officer mobility, replacing foot and mounted patrols in urban areas. A man uses a body-stretching device in 1931 in an attempt to increase his height. Devices like this were popular in parts of the 20th century. Marketed as ways to improve posture and growth, a circus strongman lifts a horse during a performance in 1903. Acts of strength like this were central to traveling shows, impressing audiences with seemingly impossible feats.